Good morning. My name is Kevin Paula. I'm the chairman of the membership committee here for the Bakersfield Association of Realtors. I'm here to welcome you to the 2014 Fall Career Boosters.
What are we hoping that the crowd gets out of the event?
Well, you've done most of that. You described most of it already. It is a chance for you to learn from people that actually, since most of the people are new to the business, these are the people that you might not approach in your office because they're the ones that are doing a ton of work, and you think, oh, there goes Brad or there goes Terry. They're always busy, and you think, I can't ask them any questions. So this is your opportunity to hear them tell you something because you were afraid to approach them. You thought maybe they were too busy or they wouldn't share any information with you. It's mostly not guarded information. And it's not that they don't really want to talk to you. You find if you actually do get their time, when they're not rushing and on a deadline, that they will talk to you. And as was mentioned before, it's an interesting industry that we're in, that we are competitors, yet at the same time we can still be friends and we can help each other. So the day is geared toward that. There's many different topics of different aspects of the business. Hopefully you'll come away with a little nugget or two from each speaker and put that down on the evaluation, because we want to continue this twice a year for a long time. And the superstars who are speaking realize that the better they make you, the better they make the industry in general. So.
Today my topic, we're going to talk about trends. How many of you have used trends? Wow, not a lot. I'm going to tell you guys a couple secrets. First thing I'm going to tell you, trends. Every time I've used trends, I've got the listing. I'm batting 100% every time I've used trends. I'm sharing that with you because I want to tell you this is a very important tool. A few years ago when I started the board and I was working my way up, and I got involved in the education committee, I got involved in some other things, and as I started to get involved in these other committees and stuff, working my way into presidency, I started getting more involved in what we had to offer on our MLS and what all the other courses and other things that the board offered us. Trends was one of the items that I found, and this is a remarkable tool. How many of you guys know what the average price per square foot is in a property right now? Anybody think it's over 150? 125? 100? No, nobody knows. Well, today you will know. That's what I promise you. Okay. Okay. All right. When you log into the MLS, right up in here, you have a search, you have maps, you have listing, and then you have trends. It's all by itself, and all you have to do is come over here and push on it. Give it a second. Now it's not going to load. You know that, right, Jamie? Now we tested this out before we started. There it goes. It's coming. There it goes. No, it's not working.
Oh, it's just not showing.
Not showing the screen. There we go. We're set. Okay. When you're looking over here at trends, you're going to see a few things. The first thing you're going to come up, you're going to see your for sales. And your for sales are basically the light green. And these are properties that are active. We have 1,657 homes active as of the end of September. The green line is your sold. As you can see, we have 538 sold. And then you have your red line, which is your pending, which is 731. This kind of gives you a feel for what's going on in the market. The next thing you're going to do is going to go right across the top, and you're going to move across. Now you're going to see what the average price per square foot. So those of you who raise their hand around 125, you're really close because it's sitting right at 124. And you can also change these charts. That's what's so nice about these charts. You can go back 2 years, 3 years. You can actually bring it down into 3 months. You can do whatever you guys want with it. And I'll show you guys how to do that in a minute. But the thing is, you can just kind of see the trend as it's just slowly going up. And now we're at 124. How many of you guys think we're in a buyer's market? How many of you think we're in a seller's market? How many of you don't know and don't care? Do you think it's important to know if you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market? Definitely, very important. Let's move on to the next one. Next one is days on the market, sold versus list price. Short sales and REOs have come down quite a bit. Wouldn't you agree? So we're not having to deal with the short sales being on the market for 230 days anymore. That's really starting to come down. But if you'll see, the average property is still on the market average about 47 days. And the price they're selling for about 96% of the listed price. So, some good information. And that was for, as of in, again, if you guys want to go back, you can go back to see what it did in March of this year was 97. You can see it kind of went up. It peaked at 98. In last year, around July, August, and September, it was right around 99%, and it's just slowly but surely tapered down to about 96. Next one over. Average price, which right now is the average price for sale, and the average price sold. As you can see, the average price right now is for sale is at $272. And the average price, actual sold, or these are for sale, and these are actually sold at $221. Here comes my favorite part. I probably look at trends twice a week, and I'm always refreshing myself on trends because I want to make sure that whenever I'm talking to a buyer, I know these statistics, and I like to talk to them right off the top of my head. And it gives me instant credibility, even though I didn't really do this report. I just push one button and this report's done for you. Inventory, right now, inventory is right now the highest we've had in a long time. And you can go back almost 2.5 years, and we've been in the lows under 3 forever. September was the first time we were over 3.1, and over 3 months was last month. So what does that tell you? More people are starting to put their properties for sale. We're actually starting to get more sellers to bring their properties onto the market. Now, I asked the question earlier, are we in a buyer's market or are we in a seller's market? And I got about 50-50. It's called an absorption rate. And that determines whether or not we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market. If you come right up here and you'll see, right there, it says month of inventory based on closed sales. If you click that button, come down, and you see absorption rate based on closed sales and absorption rates based on pending sales. I look at both of these very closely. And I'm going to start with the first one, which is closed sales. Right now we're at a 32.5%, and look at that drop. We were way up here in the 60s and the 40s for a long time, way up here. We dropped, kind of peaked out here, went back up, started dropping again, and now we're at 32.5. Yes? No, you only have the days on the market because I changed it up here. Or you have what you have is this one right here, I'll show you. You have inventory based on closed sales. That's what you have. Okay? But what I'm showing you now, and I apologize if this didn't get printed out for you, but you can change these things and look at them in a different perspective. What I want to look at now is closed, or the absorption rate based on closed sales. And so you come right up here, you click this button, and you move down. And now, going back here, we're back here where I was talking about the 32.5. What's neat about this program, if you're not sure of what's going on, or how to read this chart, see this right here, it says quick guide. You just take your mouse and you put it over there, and it'll come up and it will tell you if the absorption rate is less than 16.67 as a rule of thumb, indicates a strong buyer's market, while absorption rate greater than 33.33 indicates the seller's market. So are we in a buyer's market or a seller's market? We're in a seller's market still. Even though everyone thinks we're getting more inventory, we're still in a seller's market. The prices are still going up and the absorption rate is up. Now, remember I told you there's two tails, kind of like a coin, head and tail. One is based on closed, one is based on pendings, and I always check that one as well. And I hit the absorption rate on pendings, and that's at 44.1. So when I look at both of those, when I'm looking at the sales and I'm looking at the pendings, well, that tells me if they're both saying it is a seller's market, then most likely it's going to be a seller's market. Does that make sense to everybody? Even though you think it's a buyer's market, and only because we're starting to see more properties, less offers on the property, you still think now, well, maybe it's a buyer's market. But in reality, it's not according to the charts. We're still in a seller's market. Now, can that change next month? Absolutely. That's why you got to check this all the time, because it's always changing. Yes, ma'am. That's the bad thing about trends. It's only monthly. So I would love to give you an up-to-date where we're at on October 15th, but I can't get that until about 5 days into November. Okay? So that's the bad thing about trends. But other than that, I think trends is a great tool. And it's real easy to, you see the chart you guys have in front of you. I take that chart and I actually add that to my presentation. So when I go out to see a house for a possible listing, I have that information, and now I dial it in to their house. This is over the entire MLS. But now I'm going to show you how you can dial that into one particular house. And don't use zip codes when you're doing this. I'm going to talk about that. The reason I say that, because if you're dealing with a property off of Coffee Road, and that's 93308, and if you're going by zip code, you're also going to pick up stuff in Oroville. Would you agree the price per square foot is different between the two? Absolutely. So try to use your areas, like area 61, area 62, versus area 22, area 21, which is in Oildale. To send you guys this chart, by the way, in this chart that you see right here, this is how I did it earlier today. Actually, yesterday, I'm sorry. All you have to do is come up here to email, click email. You come here, you say you want to do for sales, and then you're going to give you choices. You can do just for sales versus sold. You can do for sales, sold, and pending, for sales versus pending, sold, and pending. It gives you a choice of everything. I like to use the same thing every time. So my choice is always going to be for sale, sold, and pendings, because I think that tells the picture of what I'm trying to do. When I'm talking to a client who wants to sell their house, I'm going to tell them, well, this is how many houses sold in your neighborhood. This is your competition that are already active. That this is our competition, ones that are for sale, and these are the pendings in your neighborhood. What I'm hoping for, obviously, I think, is we're the only one active. I mean, that gives me the best chance to sell my house. But that's one thing. Then you have the average price per square foot. Then you have days on the market. Scroll down here. And this is how fast you can do this. You come in here and you put average price, days on the market, average price per for sale, monthly inventory. And then I check these last two boxes down here. And then I put in my name right there. And then I put in my email, who I'm sending it to, and then I have another place here I can write them a little letter. And I send it off. This is actually done in less than a minute. It's that fast, it's that quick. And it's really one of the most powerful tools that we have at our MLS to use. That's free. Absolutely no charge to you. It's a member's benefit. So that's how you would send it on an email. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you how to detail your report. Let's say we want to talk about, pick an area. You guys want to do Rosedale 61? Let's just do Rosedale 61. You come over here and you see this top box right up in here, and you're just going to stroll down. And you can pick multiple areas. All you have to do is, but we're going to pick 61. Oops. And we're going to say show chart. Now we'll start back from the beginning, and you'll see how things have changed. In Area 61, there's 43 properties for sale right now, 24 are pending, and 13 sold last month. So if you have a property right off of Coffee, what's that, Brookside, I think that's Brook. I can't think of the name of the street now. But I'm trying to think of a street. Huh? Eggman. There you go, property on Eggman. Now you can just dial this in based on that area. And you can come in here and you'll see the report. And you'll see it changes all the way around for you. The average price per square foot. Remember we were talking about 124 is the average over the MLS? Well now, in this area, it's 135. See how important that is that you detail this to your area. The average days on the market, it's only 36. I believe earlier we were looking at it was 47. Big difference. Sales price versus original listing is still 96%. Average price. Now here's a big difference right here. These two are really close. So that's really about your 6% right there, or 4%. The average property for sale is around $299, and they're selling for around $270. Last, probably to me the most important. I start off with this one. And by the way, this is what I always show my clients this, but I always bring up absorption rates because it makes me look smart. But that's the only reason, if I'm being honest. But it helps me, it really does. But here you can see their inventory is a little more than the other areas. And then again, you still go back down and you still base it on your closes. And you can see they're at a 30.2. So what does that tell you in this area? Remember we said 33.3% or higher as a seller's market. But it's still over 16.6. But it's right there in the middle. Or it's starting to drop. It's going into the low side. And then you come over here and versus pendings, it's back up 55.8. Or 66, I'm sorry, 0.8. Powerful, powerful tool. This tool is absolutely 100% free. It doesn't cost you guys a dime. You guys can print it out, put it in color, send it email. You got all these different areas here you can search. If you want to just search for a condo, you click here, and now you're searching just for condos. If you want to hit search REOs, if you want to put in a sales price in there, you can. If you want to come in here, and I always like doing this here too. Hang on. This is one of my favorite things to do. What about custom dates? I want to see what's happened in the last 2 years. And I hit show. So now what it's going to do, it's going to break this down in the last 2 years. What did I do? I hit the wrong. Should have given me the last 2 years, and it didn't. Hold on. See that little button right here? You got to select the date range up here, and then hit show chart. Now it'll show you for the last 2 years. And it'll start all the way from 9/12 to all the way to 9/14. That simple. Real easy to do. To me, it doesn't really help me, but I like just looking at it. It's like, it's really funny. When I first got into business, there was no $1 million houses for sale. I mean, there was absolutely none. I couldn't find one I got on the MLS. And then about, when I started peaking, it was like 15, 20, 30, 40, then it was like $60 million house. So how many $1 million houses do we have in Bakersfield now? Well, not really. We don't hardly have any. So you can just watch it. But I was looking at this more or less just to see what a long-term, what's going on, if you want that information for yourself. Good thing if you're going to talk to a crowd of investors or something like that, you might want to say, look, over the last 2 years, this is what Bakersfield has done. That would be a great tool, especially if you're dealing with investors. So you can really program this tool to do whatever you want it to do. Like I said, it's an absolute great program. And then once you get this program and you put it in with the rest of your listing package, you're instant incredible. They think you spend hours putting this stuff together, and I spend literally 2 minutes. Yeah. But it's not going to do you straight, like, if you have a section 7 up, you're not going to be able to break it down in 7 up. You still run your comp. Okay, I still recommend you run your comp to the area within a quarter mile or a half mile to get your comp. But then you use this for a backup. And I've used this many times to talk to a seller into reducing the price. And that's been the strongest point of this. Get him to drop the price because I show him that his market is too high. Any other questions? I will go a little further, you're right, I will break it down to price. And I will, like for example, if I'm going to list our house at 250, I might list everything from 200 to 285, 275, somewhere in there, maybe 225 to 275, within a minute. Try to shrink it down that much. Yes, you're absolutely right, I will do that. I stay away from, they'll ask for square foot range, stuff like that. I take that back, I do use square footage. There was another program that they had to have bedrooms and stuff, and I never used that. But I would use square footage, I would use years built if they had it, and I would use the price range.
Can you predict future? As you mentioned about interest,
Can it predict the future?
predict the future?
No.
Yes,
This
I
is all
think-
data from the past. All it does is give you data from the past. I try to think like an appraiser, and I've talked to a lot of appraisers, and I understand the rules 10 years. So if you have a house built in 1980, you go to 1970 and 1990. You have to be within a quarter mile or a half mile. Unless it's in a rural area, you can stretch it out, but you try to stay in that. And then 200 square foot below and 200 square foot above. And I talked to many appraisers over the years. That's what they all tell me to do. It's work. Yeah, you're right. You just say that based on this here, looking at this trend, you can tell one thing for sure, inventory is going up. Yeah, you can say that. There's a guarantee of this is drop next month. But you can make a projection, you can make a projection. But this is all data that confirms right now. Everything you do is just over an estimated projection. Around the tip. I would still use it because that's a current trend. And like I said, this is a marketing tool. That's all this is. This is just another tool. This will give you instant credibility. And it only takes you 2 or 3 minutes to print it out. And what the best thing about it is, your seller will think you spent hours doing this. Now, I have used this one time on a buyer. buyer was offering $275,000 on a $300,000 house. And I tried to tell him this is why the seller won't take it, and I brought this to him, and he looked at it, because I didn't want to lose the house and find anything else for $300,000, because the house is working. So you can use it for buyers, but that's not what I use it for. My main goal is to use it for sellers to get the listing, and I have it in my presentation. But I have used it for buyers one time, just on that instant, because he just felt the price was too high, and I had to have something to show it that the price wasn't too high. By the way, it's a great price. 10 years. So when you're just like when you're writing costs on property, you're going to say if it was built in 1980, you're going to search 1970, 1990. On the square footage, if it's 2,000, you'll look at 1,800 to 2,200. Because it's easy for an appraiser to make that a small adjustment. If you get more than 200 square foot, sometimes the appraiser will, or the underwriter will want to set the appraisal and then make it go into a review. Appraisers use that, I don't. Okay, I'm not saying I do everything right. I just don't deal with the bedroom. I just don't, I really look at, I'm focusing on the square footage. I'm focusing on the year it was built. I'm also focusing on how many actors we have. Because I would like to get my seller in the best position to sell their house first. What I don't want to do is overprice my seller's house so I sell everybody else's house in the block. And I use these tools for that. And I still run costs. Any other questions? Yeah, when you do a radius search, here's the problem like when you're writing costs. The first thing you want to do is 40. But if you only get 3 or 4, obviously that's not enough. You raise it out to half. If you're in a rural area, you can go out even farther. But basically, I try to come up with at least 15. That gives me a good perspective of what's going on in the neighborhood. So there are times where I'll raise that up, but I've got to be careful. If you're in 7 Oaks and you try to go out 2 miles to get top, most likely it's going to get rejected. It's not going to work. That's a great idea. I don't use that technique, but I can see why you would. But I just don't use that technique. I just did it very basic. And then, of course, I'm always looking at the house. Obviously, you walk into a house that's got granite countertops, you're going to make an adjustment for that versus tile. If it has, if the place is garage, obviously you're not going to put it as you would a house in 7 Oaks that's ready to move in. You've got to make some, you've got to discount for that. But for your basic scenario for doing a search, 10 years younger, 10 years older, 200 square foot less, 200 square foot older, or a lot larger. Try to stay within a half a mile, quarter mile, half a mile. You can go out to a mile if you have to, but I wouldn't go more than that because unless you're in a rural area like Vermont, Harvard, Chapter, something like that.
My name's Lee Barrison. I was asked to talk about being productive, prospecting, and all of us love to prospect, right? We love to pick up the phone and call people that we don't know so we can get hung up on. But basically, I wanted to start today's topic off by, I wanted everybody to kind of put yourself in, or imagine yourself as an Apache helicopter sitting in the center of Bakersfield, and the Apache helicopter takes you straight up, right? And then if you look down on the city of Bakersfield, that's our potential. Those are all the folks that we're able to talk to and earn new business. The only problem is that they're not highlighted in green so we know who to go talk to, right? So the question is, who is it that we talk to and what do we say when we find them? So there's only 2 people in the world that I think, myself, that we should talk to in real estate, okay? It's those people that we know and the people that we don't know, right? So, being that we're talking to these 2 groups, but if you're not talking to either one of these groups, aren't you in essence out of the real estate business already? Yes or no? right? The problem is that real estate agents, we seem to talk to ourselves a lot, right? So, you know, the only problem is when we interrupt. So, if you're not talking to either one of these groups, basically you're kind of out of the business. And there's 3 words that I wanted you guys to write down today, okay? The words attitude, approach, and expectations, okay? So basically in the morning as we begin our day, you know, these 3 words I try to emphasize on myself, because basically attitude, the word attitude is important to me because in order to have a good productive day, we have to have a good attitude, right? We have to have the attitude that we are going to go create new business today when we arrive in the office. So your attitude, you know, the suspect or the client, they see that attitude. And people want to work with people that have good attitudes. Would you agree? Yes or no? Yeah. Right? Okay. So second word would be approach. You know, when I start my day, what's going to be my approach? Who am I going to talk to? What am I going to say? And what am I actually going to get out of today, right? You got to have a good approach when you wake up during the day and once you get to the office. Third word is expectations. If I do have a good attitude and a great approach, I've got to have good expectations as to what's going to happen if I do what I'm supposed to do, right? Yes or no? Okay? So attitude, approach, expectations, 3 important words that I wanted to bring up. And you know, I also wrote down that there's 3 ways to create new business in real estate. There's only 3 ways, okay? Number 1, you guys can write this down, but you can wait for it, or what I like to call long-term response techniques, okay? What's an example of waiting for the business? Cold calls. No. Cold calls is active. How about floor calls? Okay? Here's an example. Cheryl, today I'm going to wake up, and go to the office, and do sign calls. Well, what's sign calls? Well, if somebody calls on my signs, I'll be ready, right? So that's an example of waiting for the business, right? Or number 2, what you guys can do is we can buy the business, right? And I like to call that future response techniques. The only problem about buying the business or future response techniques is that it takes anywhere between 90 to 180 days in order to get a good turnaround on that lead, but more importantly, it affects your bottom line, right? So buying the business, what would be an example of buying the business? Sending postcards, right? Billboards, reducing your commission to get the sale, right? Isn't that considered buying the business, right? Number 3, you can ask for it, right? Which I like to call immediate response techniques, right? You can ask for the business. So in real estate, wouldn't you all agree that it's a contact sport, right? It's a contact sport. So just like any other direct sales business, this is a numbers game, and we must be involved in talking and communicating to people every single day if we want to win the game, correct? So with that being said, I've written down 11 things that I feel are crucial to enhance our chances of winning the game of prospecting, okay? And I'd like everybody to write these down if you can, okay? So in order to prepare ourselves to be more productive, I wrote down 11 things. Number 1 is going to be a pro mindset, right? So basically every morning when you wake up and you get to the office, you got to have a pro mindset. Meaning you start every day at 0, or I like to start every day at 0. Meaning when I wake up in the morning, no matter what's going on in my business, I have no contacts, I have no escrows, I have no leads, I have no money in the bank. And basically it's time to get to work, to create a sense of urgency within myself, to get on the phones and have a great attitude, approach, and expectation is what's going to happen at the end of the day. So pro mindset's number 1. Number 2 is to be prepared, right? A lot of agents, or some agents, they get to the office, they prepare. By 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, they begin to get on the phone. Then it's lunchtime. They take 2 hours for that. Day's already shot, right? So sometimes it's better to be prepared the night before. You know, sometimes it's better to be prepared. Who are you going to call? Who are you going to talk to that day? Bright and early in the morning. Okay, eat breakfast. That's a great way of preparing before you get to the office. And be on time, you know. Number 3 would be focus on the goal, right? So every morning when you guys do get on the phone or you guys do decide to prospect, you know, the goal is to set an appointment for the folks that you talk to, whether it's people you know or don't know. But if you're looking for new business, then the goal is to set an appointment, because without an appointment, we don't get any contract signed, no money in the bank, right? So the goal is to set the appointment. And when you're on the phone or when you're talking to people, some agents have, or they over-rapport with sellers, right, or buyers, you know. God, I love the bowling trophy that you've got there, Dave. No, it's not a bowling trophy. It's actually a golf trophy, you know. I mean, you can't over-rapport with these people. We're the professionals. We're not here to talk about how great their home is for 2.5 hours. We're the professional. If your doctor, if you came and saw your doctor and he just, oh God, Dave, your hair's so, you know, everything's so nice, you know, and I'm walking out of here, right? This is scaring me, right? So we're not here to over-rapport with people as well. We're here to stay on topic, and that's to help them buy a home or sell a home in the quickest amount of time. Efficient with your time. You also got to be efficient with your time when you're prospecting, because a lot of folks, when you do over-rapport with people, you begin to have long conversations. You aren't really sticking to the game plan, which is to be efficient with your time while you're talking to people. You know, if they have no desire to buy or sell, thanks for your call. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. On to the next, right? Okay, number 4 is to preview the suspect if you can't reach them by phone. So what I mean by that is that if you guys ever do decide to pick up the phone and make cold calls or call whoever, your database, whoever it is, and you're unable to contact them by phone, knocking on the door or going to the suspect's house is really the best way to get in front of them. You know, when you preview the home or the client in person, you're more effective in person, because then they see you. They see that, okay, well, they're not just sitting on the couch drinking beer at 10 o'clock in the morning. They're actually dressed professionally. They're very professional when they meet with you. So you're more effective. But the only problem with door knocking and talking to the suspect by person is that your efficiency level goes dramatically down. Right? So because you have to get in the car and you have to drive, and they don't answer the door, and then you got to get in the car, and then you got to drive, so on and so on. So number 5 I wrote down is to track your numbers. This is something that I do. You know, I track my contacts per day. I track my appointments that I create per day. I track the listings that I take in per day, closings, and the money earned. You know, because in every sales job, whether you're working at the Marriott, making calls 8 hours a day, they expect you to be on the phone 8 hours a day, but more importantly, they want to see your numbers. They want to see your ratios, if you're able to convert these people. Because if your ratios, you know, by tracking your numbers over 60 to 90 days, you can begin to see, you know, any changes in your contacts and your ratios that you need to make. Because if you're making, you know, 200 contacts per month, but you only got 1 listing, something needs to change, right? Whether it's what you're saying, who you're talking to, or whatever. So if you track your numbers, that's important. So number 6 I wrote down is to role play and learn scripts, right? I'm big on role playing. I'm big on learning scripts. You know, basically, if I winged it, I'd screw it up every time. So, you know, when I talk to people, I normally have a script in front of me so I don't screw up. So, you know, the scripts are important because then you learn the objections that sellers have a lot of times. So when you're talking to sellers and they give you an objection, normally if you role play and practice your scripts, you are rehearsed and ready for that objection to come so you can answer it and get the contract signed. Because that's what we want, right? Number 8. Like Brian mentioned, you know, I'm big on goals. You know, I write my goals. I've got a dream board at the office, but I review my goals every day. You know, and it's important to have goals, because if you don't have goals, then what's the purpose behind what we're doing? You know, are we just looking to, you know, this is one job, one career that, you know, we're all really blessed to have. You know, but there's no ceiling as to how much money we can actually make in this business. But if you don't have goals, then really, what's the purpose behind everything? You know, what are we doing here? Number 8, I wrote down, be flexible in your personality. Everybody's got different personalities, right? And it's important to be a chameleon sometimes, you know. If you are stuck in your personality, sometimes it can screw up the deal, You know, so us being professional salespeople, we've got to talk to people that have different personalities every day, right? And some of them we don't mesh with so well, right? So it's important that we decide to become that chameleon or work on our personality or mimicking people or mirroring and matching people. Number 10, I wrote down, keep your energy level up at all times, okay? Number 9, be flexible, review your goals. Know your statistics. Number 8 would be know your statistics, your market statistics. You know, it's always important to know your market statistics. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you aware that there's 1,650 homes currently on the market and only 500 sold last month, which leaves us with 3.5 months of inventory? You know, that's important to know. Okay, number 10. Keep your energy level up at all times. Be energetic and enthusiastic whenever talking to a suspect, right? Because do they want to work with a bump on a log? Yes or no, right? They want somebody that's enthusiastic and energetic, that's very interested in getting their home sold, right? So it's always important to keep our energy level up at all times. Number 11, treat your prospecting time like it's an appointment, okay? It's really, really easy to break your prospecting time because it's an appointment that can be broken. But if you treat it more like a listing appointment, are we going to show up late on the listing appointment, or are we just not going to go? We're going to show up every time, on time, and prepared. But during your prospecting time, I feel it's important as well to show up on time and treat it like an appointment that can't be broke, okay? Because consistently, if you do this for 90 days, then you'll see those results. So, as I earlier brought up, you know, there's 3 ways to earn new business in real estate. There's long-term, future, and immediate response. So who wants to make money now? Everybody wants to make the money now, right? Good. So we're better off not looking at the first 2 options, right? We want immediate response with people that want to do something now, right? So I wrote down 11 immediate response techniques that we can use today in order to get a contract signed tomorrow. Number 1, contact your center of influence and past clients for referrals, right? This group of people have dealt with you. They've experienced your professionalism. They trust you. They want to see you succeed. But so oftentimes, we don't pick up the phone and call these folks. It's really easy for us not to follow up with them on a regular basis, so that way they can give us more referrals, because we like referrals, right? So it's important to contact the center of influence and your past clients. Yes? I try to contact everybody by phone at least 4 times a year or so. And then I'll mail to them probably 4 times a year. Okay. Well, number 2, contact all for sale by owners, right? These people have a sign in their front yard saying, "Come list me," right? But why are they going for sale by owner? Why? They know more than we do, right? Yeah. Well, normally they're going for sale by owner because they want to save the commission, right? Yeah. And that's cool. So evidently they want to protect their bottom line, but you know, we can show them, we can share with them how we can make that a better experience, because most experienced, 92% of all for sale by owners wind up listing their home with a real estate agent, so why not pick one of us, right? Yes? Mm-hmm. Correct, Cheryl. Yeah. So we've got disclosures, exposure, right? More than likely, we can save them money, right? Because they normally sit on the market for what, 5-6 months sometimes. They have a mortgage payment. They have maintenance on the property. It kind of adds up over time, you know. Okay, number 3, I wrote down contacting all expired listings, right? So expired listings are great because, well, heck, they've already agreed to pay us a commission, right? So we've already gotten over that hurdle, right? Why do most homes expire? It's the price, right? So it's our job as professional salespeople to be honest and upfront and bring crazy statistics that take 2 minutes to develop and make it look like, I mean, heck, we really did our research and you're overpriced, right? But these people need our help, right? So basically, expired listings are a great way to create new business.
How do you contact these buyers? Do you go to their house, try to get the phone number?
Yeah, Gary.
How do you get phone numbers?
Gary, basically, there's systems out there that can be used to get the phone numbers. If you can't get the phone numbers, go to the door. You're going to be more effective in person. You know what I mean? It's so easy for a seller to do this, but it's so much harder for them to do this. You know what I mean? And with expired listings and for sale by owners, Gary, it's I would say 80% of the agents are calling them, but only 20% are actually going to the door. So you have a lot less competition that they're dealing with face to face. You know what I mean? Okay, number 4 would be using a lead capture system, whether it's like a 1-800 name writer or they have these little things you take a picture with on your phone. But basically, those lead capture systems, once they call on the sign, a lot of times those are people that live in the neighborhood, curious about a price, thinking about moving, right? So you call and and a lot of times these people are still in front of the house. Or sometimes they're also a potential buyer for your listing that you can double in. It's always nice to double in our listings, right? Okay, so and plus it's a great way of getting a price reduction. Dave, we had 25 people calling your sign, not one of them wants to buy your home. What do you think the problem is? Right? Okay. Number 5, just listed, just sold, cold doors and cold calls. This here is pretty good too. I know Greg over here uses the Mojo system, which he cold calls a lot of folks. But you can get a lot of good results from doing cold calls and cold doors, because more importantly, if they do have any intention to buy or sell real estate, you're the very first person that's usually contacted them. So there's zero competition once you get to the table. Working old company files for immediate business. I'm not sure if your companies allow this or not, but a lot of agents come and go out of the business every day, right? You can go to your broker or your sales manager and ask them, hey, can I get all the old names and phone numbers of people that Coldwell Banker, whoever your company is that you work with, to get me all the phone numbers of those folks, and so that way I can start servicing their account or whatever, So basically, if John Smith has decided to sell one home and gets out of the business because he'd rather teach school, well, then you can pick up John Smith's past client and let them know that you're servicing their account, and if they know anyone that's thinking about making a move, right? Number 7 would be working current client referrals. So basically, the communication between you and a seller or you and a buyer that's in escrow is never stronger until it's actually in escrow. So basically, when you are helping somebody buy a home or sell a home, that's actually the best time to ask for a referral, because you've provided results, you're talking often at that time, and the communication normally isn't ever stronger at that point. It's always good to put these people into a database and continue to follow up with them once you guys close escrow, but that's when the communication is at its strongest. Working sign calls, again, that's just one other facet of creating business today. And then working staff center of influence. So if you guys have any people or any staff that works for you, you guys can implement their COI and database into your system. So if you have an assistant or a TC or anybody else that works on your behalf, get all their contacts and start calling them. And then last would be calling NODs. That's a tough one. But again, you can call NODs in order to create business maybe next month. So that's all I really have. Any questions? Kevin.
I think of prospecting, I think of the word positivity. Where do you find the positivity to face prospect? What do you first develop on to find that positive approach to all and whatnot?
Because it can become so negative so quickly, right? You know, you pick up the phone, you get hung up on 5 times. Who wants to pick up the phone again, right? Well, Kevin, I think it goes back to the goals, right? Everything goes back to the goals, you know. So as long as you have strong goals in place, whether it's financial goals or whatever it is, you know, you don't worry about the negative in the call or the conversation. I think it's important to focus on the goals at all times, but more importantly, you know, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting what you do, you know. So yeah, that's how I would answer that question.
How many people do you try to contact today? New people?
15 to 20. Yeah. So, you know, basically, as the list goes down, you know, it gets really intense at the top, and then as you work your way down that list, you get less results. But if you focus on your center of influence first, you know, 15 to 20 calls, so maybe 5 center of influence, 5 past clients, 5 for sale by owners, 5 expireds, you're probably going to have a pretty good day right there. You know what I mean? Now, if you do this for 30, 60 days and commit to the plan, would you guys say that your business would go straight up? Right? So, yeah, I mean, if you consistently call these people per day, and then Kevin, just to piggyback on your question, you know, the more often you call them, 30, 60 days, you know, repeatedly, every day, make it a point of your job showing up. In 90 days, you're gonna have so much business, you don't care if you get hung up on. You're gonna be so positive because you got so many escrows going, you're not gonna know what to do with, right? Dave, you had a question?
Still business for sale by owners?
Yeah, I'll have a listing package in the car. But basically, it's really just a preview for me. You know, I get it. They don't want to list, so I'm not showing up to list the home. But I am there to show them my professionalism, right? I am there to maybe have some market statistics for their particular neighborhood. You know, Dave, hey, did you know that there's 45 homes available in your neighborhood? Anyways, nice house. Yeah, it looks good, right? But then the follow-up is what's more important with a for sale by owner to me. You know, so the initial contact in person with the for sale by owner is to exemplify me, firm handshake, eye contact, 5 minutes tops. I'm not there to sit there for a half an hour to tell them how great their home is, right? But the follow-up is what's more important with for sale by owners, which I've experienced. So calling them on a weekly basis, calling to find out if they're going to do an open house, if they need any help with anything, blah, blah, blah. You know, because really, it's like a poker game, I think, with a lot of for sale by owners. They're like this in the beginning. You know, they don't want to disclose anything. We're not going to list. If we can't sell the home ourselves, we're going to stay here. No big deal, right? But over time, as you develop that relationship with them, right, then they start dropping their cards a little bit and kind of telling you their real true motivation as to why they're moving and seeing if you can help. You know what I mean? Because that's what they're really looking for, is that persistent, consistent, great agent with a great attitude that's willing to help them. That's really what a for sale by owner is looking for. Lorena. Mm-hmm.
How many times a week do you do that? And if you contact the previous listing agent, how do you
Well, I think there's respect due in our marketplace. You know, like for instance, if it was an expired in our office, because me and Lorena work together, I would call you. But basically, it is fair game.
But if it's a frontier,
Yeah. Right, but it is fair game, right? I mean, wouldn't you agree that it is fair game? You know, and basically, we're here to help these people. You know, it's not to say that the last agent didn't do their job. It's not to say that the last agent didn't try their best. But more importantly, it's here just to try to see if we can help. You know, to explain the facts, to really find out if they are motivated to sell, and if they are motivated, then they're going to listen to you. You know, 2 to 3 times a week, I'll knock on doors, Lorena. For expires, yeah. And then I'll also map out, little pop buys. So basically, if I have 5 expired listings that I'm going to go knock today, I'll also do some pop buys on past clients just to see how things are going. Ask them if they know anybody that's thinking about making a move. And then I'll also implement the for sale by owners in that map too. You know, so you know, if I go hit this expired and there's a for sale by owner 2 blocks away, that's where I'm going next. You know, and then I'll go hit this expired. If there's a COI over there, I'm going to go hit them next. Does that make sense? Any other questions? We're good? Oh, Terry. Sorry? The guts. Well, I think, Terry, honestly, you've probably already been there. Because, yeah. Right. Well, again, I think it all goes back to consistency, because if you consistently do it for 30, 60, 90 days, then you really become an expert in the conversation. You really start just developing, the mindset that's strong enough in order to withstand that. You know what I mean? Gary?
You never mentioned anything about mailers. Do you not believe in mailers?
I don't do any mailers, Gary, because it's really expensive. You know what I mean? I'm really trying to protect that bottom line if I can. I do mail to for sale by owners, you know, because that's a part of the contact, Dave.
What do you mail for? Something specific about the neighborhood, their house?
No, basically it's just a generic postcard, you know.
They're advertising you.
Thank you, guys. Well, yeah, it is unique working with your dad. I told him that I was going to pick on him until I knew he was showing up. But, you know, it is because he comes from an older mentality, not older, I mean, he's got some age on him. But I grew up with technology, he didn't. And so over the last 10 years, we've had to really mold something that works between trying to learn something new, trying to keep up with what's evolving, and stay up at the same time. You know, over the last 10 years, everything's changed twice. So it's been interesting. You know, there's nothing really that qualifies me to be here to talk about technology. I haven't done any sort of, besides the fact that I am young, I grew up with computers, and everything just starts seeming intuitive. The people that are behind me are already using smartphones in high school. I wasn't doing that. So it's crazy to see how things are constantly evolving. I grew up with some of that stuff, and so I'm able to understand it a little bit more. But other than that, there's not really much that qualifies me to be up here talking in front of you guys. But we'll go through a bunch of stuff. I mean, today it's tough to follow Dave and Lee. They're both great guys, and they're some of the best at their field. But, you know, we'll go through this and give you some information through a fire hose and see. Keep in mind as we're going through all these things, so my idea today is to go through 10 things, spend a little bit of time on each one, just to give you an idea of some of the stuff that's out there for your business. If any of these things introduce you, we do something called TUG on all of them. Has anyone heard of TUG? Does everyone know what TUG is? No one knows what TUG is. Perfect. All right. So TUG is a member benefit that we've done through the technology committee here at the local association. TUG stands for Technology Users Group. And what we did a long time ago, we were having a technology program through the technology committee, and someone went through all this stuff. It was really great, and someone said, all that stuff sounds really great, but I don't even know how to get to first base. I don't know how to turn on my computer. So we said, okay, well, let's start having specific programs on one topic, very individualized, small groups, and let's go through it in depth so that way people can get an understanding of how this stuff works and kind of crawl before you walk type deal. So if you haven't heard of TUGs, keep an eye out for emails that about TUG topics, Technology User Group. We'll have these classes on all of these topics throughout the year. And they're really good to go to because we try and break it down to its simplest form, so that way you can understand why you're doing this stuff and why it matters. So I started off today, I was searching the internet for something that might work. You probably can't read that, but it says, thank you for calling. Please leave a message. In case I forget to check my messages, please send your message as an audio file to my email. Then send me a fax to remind me to check my email, then call me back to remind me to check my fax. And the point of that, you know, I was going through a ton of different things trying to figure out how to lead this off. The point of that is don't just get lost in the newest thing. There's a ton of things that are constantly evolving. That doesn't matter. What matters is what's going to work for you and around your business. And going back to me working with my dad, it's not about, you know, the most efficient thing, the thing that's going to do the best. It's about what works around what we do. We have a certain way of doing business, and we have technologies that we've implemented that complement that stuff. So just keep that in mind. You'll go through here and say, well, I'm always out in the field. That would make it a hell of a lot easier than going back to the office and having to do that stuff. Keep that in mind as you're going through this stuff, and We'll see what works for you. One of the best things here, so who's using ZipForm Mobile? Who has an iPad or a tablet or anything like that? Okay, a good amount of crowd. So ZipForms Mobile is who's using ZipForms Mobile? So a couple of you. ZipForms Mobile, up to this point, it's costed about $13 a year or $14 a year. I'm happy to say that at last week's CAR business meetings, the board of directors voted to make it a free member benefit. And so that'll be implemented here over the next couple months. It's one of the best things to turn your iPad into, instead of an Angry Birds device, everyone's laughing, but you know exactly what you're using that for. Instead of an Angry Birds device, turn into something you can actually use. You can turn your forms, you can actually fill them out from the field, you can email them out, you can do everything that you're doing when you're sitting on your computer logging into ZipForms on CAR's website. It's got the whole library of forms, everything that you need right there. It's a fantastic tool. I'm a commercial broker, but we use those forms all the time, and being able to get in there, you know, instead of having to go back to the office and fill this stuff out, print it out, email it out, scan it, whatever it is, you can do it all within the confines of that iPad, which is absolutely fantastic. So keep an eye out for when CAR starts releasing this for free, because it's going to be something that you want to jump on, and we're happy that our state board opted to do that. They also have it for the Android stuff as well, so if you have one of those Android tablets, I'm not familiar with them, but you can jump in and deploy that. RPR, this is another thing that's relatively new. Who's heard of Realtor Property Resource, RPR? Good. So RPR is another free member benefit, and it's provided by the National Association of Realtors. And what their goal has been to be is basically there's a ton of different data all over the place. They want to be a data aggregator. So they want to take all, you know, if there's 5 different places of data, public record, MLS, schools, all this different stuff, and funnel it into one place that you can go to one website and get all the information that you need. They're probably only 2 or 3 years old at this point. They've been growing substantially ever since then. They keep on releasing new updates, they keep on improving their product based on feedback. The people that work for them, they've got great people working for them that are out there that are getting the feedback from realtors, because this is something that's 100% owned by NAR, so it's 100% owned by realtors, and they're developing it exclusively for realtors. It's not something that they're selling to, you know, third parties to go out and basically get in the MLS information. So it's something, you know, just all these things for the most part, you can go in, don't be afraid to just check them out. I believe we have a button on our MLS website that jumps over to RPR. So when you log in the MLS, if you got some free time, click on that, but you're not going to break it. Just jump in, start playing around, click buttons, see what it does, because to me, the best way to learn most technology is to immerse yourself around it. Just jump right in. You might not know anything, but you can start clicking things and see what happens. Go. Yeah, it's great for comping properties. It's great for, you know, if you're finding a property on the MLS, it's only if that property is listed, was listed in the past, so on and so forth. Their goal is to have a database of all properties. So, you know, if this property's never been listed, at the very least, they'll have public record data that's been funneled into it. So we use a program in commercial real estate called CoStar, which they've got the same type of idea for commercial properties. They've gone out and cataloged every building in Bakersfield, for example, so that I can go look up information on this building and get all the things that I need to be able to go out and prospect and things like that. So, I mean, it's a good reference tool. It's great for comps. That's one of the things that they built it for. But it's good to go out, and if you're listing a property, just go see what information they've got. And then you can go out and find how it works in your own business. Question, go. The best way to get to it is when you log into the MLS, there's a button on the MLS homepage. Is that right? Yeah, there's a button on the MLS homepage. If you click that, it takes you to RPR's website. So we've tried to make it really simple to jump into RPR. Like I said, if you have some free time, just go try it out and see how it's going to work for you. What's that? Oh, okay, perfect. It's on. Yeah, it's up in the right-hand corner, something like that. Right below, yeah. There's a little deal that says RPR. I'm not in the MLS like you guys are, so you guys have to help me out with some of that stuff. Social media tips. So social media is a fun thing. There's about 5,000 different social media networks that you can jump on. Who here's on Facebook? Good. It's good to be on Facebook because it turns you into a human. And when you're interacting on Facebook, that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you want to generate business from Facebook, you have to be a human. You can't post these responses that are links and just look like you're a corporate posting machine. You need to go on there and comment about how their kid is doing in soccer and how your kid's playing in the same league. Or, you need to go out and be someone that's interactive and try and, kind of do what Lee was talking about. Just stay in contact and stay in front of your clients. Facebook is fantastic for that. If you weren't doing anything in social media and you had to start today, in Bakersfield at least, the top 2 things to do would be to be on Facebook and be on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just more of a professional version of what Facebook is. It allows you to kind of establish yourself, and it's good for your clients that are in business because they have a LinkedIn. So, jump into, but Facebook is probably the #1 for this area. No one's using Twitter that I've seen in the Bakersfield area. No one ever is using Google Plus, and I mean there's 1,000 others. So let's see here. Manage your time on it too. So we've all seen the people that live on Facebook that are going to post 30 pictures every day and talk about what they had for dinner and post a picture of that dinner. There's a borderline. And most of the time you can use a little bit of logic to say, if I sit down and were to plan out how I'm going to use Facebook, this is the best way for me to go about it. I'm going to go out, I'm going to reach to clients, I'm going to post a picture of a listing, hey, just took this listing, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to comment and keep up with clients and basically try and be a resource for people and stay in front of people. And that's the best way to use it, not as a way to dump what's going on in your life 100%. Any questions about any of the social media stuff? It's really simple to use. That's the way that they've designed it. So, question? Tie them all together and have it all go to one place and post it to all the different ones. There's a website called Hootsuite. It's HOOTSUITE. And their whole goal is to be that sort of single login, funnel into one place. Here's what I want to post, and have it go out to 5 places. I used them a little bit. I'm not big on social media myself, probably as much as I should be. But I'm not that person that's keeping in contact with people. I just stay up with it. So, but if you are on all these different social networks, there's Pinterest, there's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, LinkedIn. Those pictures right there are Blogger and MySpace. I don't know what Dig is. I've already gotten behind on the times. But if you want to post something, if you're members of all that stuff, you're active with all that stuff, Hootsuite's something that you can go to one place, post to all of them instead of having to go to each website. MLS Connect. Anyone using MLS Connect? All right. MLS Connect is pretty cool. Again, it's starting to be a trend here, another free member benefit. CAR and NAR, they've done a pretty incredible job of providing resources to help you guys in your business. And so it's something where now that they provided this stuff for free, you got to go out and learn it and implement it so that way they see it being used and you can actually see the value in your business and the value of what your dues are going to. So MLS Connect is really cool. What it does is basically very simple function. You have a listing, you have a purchase offer. It's going to take the data on that house from the MLS and put it into zip forms. So your address, your APN, all the information that's in the MLS about that house, it's going to take it out of the listing in the MLS and put it in your zip forms contract. Saves time from having to input everything. Saves on errors from having to, mistype something, missed avenue instead of street, APN number was wrong. All that stuff's being taken direct from the MLS. Mr. Tuttle. The broker commission? The broker information. Yeah, I'm not sure because I haven't worked with it myself. Okay. Yeah, perfect. So it takes all the broker's information as well. Yeah, from what I understand, basically it's mapped. So we talk about mapping when you're syncing stuff like that. Mapping basically means if this is APN over here and this is APN over here, make sure they go to the right place. And so from my understanding, everything in the MLS is mapped and to go over to the appropriate place in zip forms. So it's really cool. Yeah. How do you get to it? It's through zip forms. So I'm pretty sure there's a button when you set up your contract on zip forms, at the top there's a button for you to connect to the MLS transaction. I'm pretty sure you put in the MLS number and then it'll bring that information over. But we'll have a tug on it and they'll have more information. So the cloud. I'm going to try and explain the cloud. Who here understands what the cloud is? No one understands what the cloud is. Wasn't that the premise for one of these movies that came out? No one understands what the cloud is. So you've heard of Dropbox. I mean, there's Dropbox is probably one of the most popular ones. Google Drive is out there. Microsoft has their own one. There's one called Box.net. And the basics of it's really cool. It's changed the way that me and my dad have done business. Because before, we each had separate files on separate computers. It was tough to collaborate. This changes all of that for us. So if I'm writing a document on my computer, a Word document, and I save it, normally most people save it in an area called My Documents or something within My Documents. Instead of saving it in My Documents, Dropbox in this case would replace My Documents. So I'd save it in Dropbox. As soon as I save it, that file shoots up to Dropbox, and now it's being stored at Dropbox servers, which is located in a cloud somewhere. So now that file, the hard copy of that file is in Dropbox. It's also on my computer, but it's up at Dropbox's servers. So when I go and pull it up on my phone, for example, it's going from Dropbox servers to my phone, not from my computer to my phone. So essentially the main copy of that file is located in one place where all my other devices can try and reach that device. And that's, the purpose of this is to kind of say, if this is the cloud up here, this is Dropbox servers, when you want a file, you're going and getting it from that cloud, from those servers, as opposed to getting it from this device to this device. So that way, the main copy of your file is stored in the cloud. So we've used this to be able to access our files. We've got all of our property files that are on that sort of system where we can access them. We can access them on the go. I've used it, in a crunch, jump on my iPad, pull out a file, email it off, and it's been taken care of. It's a really cool tool. It's necessary, and it remotely stores your files too. So we've been in situations where computers have crashed, unfortunately, and we've had all our files backed up to a server somewhere to where we can just go jump on another device, download them, and it's like sitting at your computer again. Yes, sir. Well, and it's especially an issue for Mr. Paula because he's got some compromising pictures in the cloud. Security is always going to be, it's always going to be in the news. One of the first things I'd recommend is go to one of the brand name guys. They've got, and you can go through and read the security protocols they have. There's always going to be people trying to crack them, but Google's pretty solid, Dropbox is pretty solid. Those top 5 guys are pretty solid. Now it's just going to be a question of your password. So if your password's password, you really need a strong password, and it sucks because no one's going to remember capital G, exclamation mark, little a, 6, 4, big N. But at the same time, all of our clients' information is in these files. All of my information is in these files. And people just love to be chaotic. And so if you just have an email address that they've gotten from some other website and they just go have a robot, I'm pretty sure most passwords they've said can be cracked in some ridiculous amount of time. It's like under 12 minutes or something like that. If you just have a normal password, they can get access to that stuff. So one thing that I've started using, I can't really speak to this much because it's brand new to me still, but it's something called LastPass. And I looked at a lot of basically, it's a password remembering function. I looked at a lot of different providers for this sort of thing, and LastPass was the one that I was comfortable with moving forward with. And it's because their whole premise is you remember their password, the password to LastPass, make it a really complicated password, and that's the last password you have to remember. Because you can log into that, and it'll have the rest of your passwords, and then there's ways to add LastPass to your internet, so that way when you go to a website, it automatically fills in this really complicated password. So I'd probably recommend that. Like I said, I'm just still getting started with that. It's called LastPass if you're interested in taking a look at it. But other than that, use a complicated password. We have, me and my dad, we share a lot of passwords, and we kind of have different levels of passwords depending upon how sensitive I see the information. So if it's something that is really simple that I'm logging into all the time, we've got a pretty simple password that we use to get into that stuff. Our most complicated stuff, it's got capital letters, numbers, and lowercase letters. So that's a lot tougher to crack. So as far as the cloud goes, just go try it. I mean, you can download it on your computer and try it out. A lot of people use it for saving photos. So when you take a picture with your phone, it automatically hooks up and sends that photo up. Just go try it out and see how it's going to work. And go see a tug on it to get some more information. Digital signatures. I don't personally use a lot of digital signatures. The digital signature guru is going to be Alyssa Knight. She does a lot of presentations on digital signatures. But basically the idea of it is convenience signing on the go. So there's the providers you've heard about, DocuSign, CAR has their own platform called Digital Ink. And it's being able to sign, send a document to your clients, they can digitally sign it, send it back, and you can get that offer off pretty quickly and try and stay ahead of the group. The advantage is that convenience and the fact that you can, if there's a lot of offers, you can try and do what you can to stay in front of everybody. When I've signed stuff before, I've signed stuff in programs that basically allow you to edit a document on your iPad. So I've downloaded this deal, and you can basically mark it up and highlight if you wanted to and cross out things if you wanted to, but you can also draw on it. And so I've used the iPad to draw signatures when I've needed to. The disadvantage of that is programs like DocuSign, they keep it what they call an envelope of the client's information. So they keep this deal so that way you can actually tie that client to that document so that way it can be verified. So there's pros and cons for all of them. They're standing up, so I gotta go. Open House Pro. This is a cool one for everyone's doing open houses. Basically register all the clients as they're coming in the door. It's got a really neat, that picture right there is of our new office, and that's what a client would see as they're walking in the door. So if you set that up as they walk in the door, it'd be pictures of the house that are scrolling through each one, and they hit that touch to begin deal, and it asks them 6 questions. Are you working with a broker? How'd you find out about the open house? What's your name? What's your email address? What's your phone number? And then it sends them a thank you email. And then it lets you know when they've seen that thank you email. So it's a really cool deal. It's free. Just download it, check it out. It's really simple to use. And this is where I started getting tired making this presentation last night. Super professional. Super professional. Evernote. We've got a tug coming up on Evernote, I believe next week. And so Evernote is a note-taking program. It allows you to store notes, collect things, basically combining the benefits of Dropbox in the cloud and adding the ability to take notes to it too. So I'd suggest taking that tug just to see what it does if you've got the time to be able to go out and do it. But if you want to keep to-do lists and be able to write them on your iPad and then log on onto your computer and see what notes you've taken on your iPad, that's the tool to do it. Cool. Last one. iPad and iPhone tips. So when I teach a tug, the tugs that I've taught have been about the very, very, very basics of how to use your iPad settings, how to use just the generic stuff. And so some of the best things that I've taken from my class when I've done it. Does everyone know how to screenshot on their iPhones and iPads? If you take this thing, and if I got a missed call. If I wanted to take a picture of what was on the screen, so whatever it is, I can take some of this stuff, I've taken a screenshot, I've taken the picture on the screen and used it in this presentation. If you hold down the center button and click the top button, it takes a picture of whatever's on the screen. And then you can go out and use that for whatever you're doing. Keyboard shortcuts, if you go into settings and keyboard, who here has problems with autocorrect? You got good typers in here. If you've ever had problems with autocorrect, or if you want to make some new shortcuts. So, for example, if I type in DREG on my phone, it automatically brings up my email address, derek@spragueregg.com. So I don't have to sit there and find the @ find the dot, and do all that stuff. So you can go into settings, general, keyboard, shortcuts, something like that, and be able to basically create your own shortcode for that'll pop up like autocorrect. Use a passcode. Kind of going back to the password stuff, if someone got my passcode to my iPad or my iPhone, I've got all my clients' information that they can access. I've got all my information they can access. I know it's sometimes a pain, but it's good to have your device locked up, so that way it just creates an extra barrier for someone to jump into that stuff. And then lastly, moving apps and stuff around. So if you don't know about this already, if you hold your finger down on an app on your iPhone, they start to dance, is the best way to describe it. They start shaking around, and you can reorganize how all your apps are on there. So you can take this, drag it around, and then you can also drag it on top of another app, and it'll create a folder for all those apps. So it's a good way to organize everything that's on there, because I've got close to 200 apps that I don't use. And with that, does anyone have any questions? Question? Statement? Really important tool. Yeah, it uses GPS to find your phone. I've used it when I've lost it in between the couch cushion and couldn't find it. And so, and you can also make it play a sound, so that way if it is around the house, you can have it make this really annoying sound if your phone's on vibrate, so that way you can find your phone. So I've used it a couple times, even when I've been at DITS. The second and fourth Thursday of the month is when we have them scheduled, and we've got them at 8:30 still. So I know we're all realtors. I know we treasure our rest, but 8:30. That way we can get you in, get you going with the day by 9:30, and they're great programs to go to. And also make sure you sign up for them too, because we limit the class sizes. Typically, there's no more than 20 to 25 people, so that way we can make sure that it's individualized training and attention.
Okay, you guys can ask me any question you want, because I'm up here to represent like what you don't do and how you not to be. How to be is Lee Barrison, and that's the truth, because the most successful realtor that I have ever known is Louis Gregorio, and the reason he was so successful is because of all the things that he learned at Mike Ferry, which I'm suspecting that Lee's following Mike Ferry. I paid Mike Ferry $22,000, and he was like, go to work, just go to work. Because I would never do what he said, because my personality is just such that I cannot make a cold call, I cannot be consistent, I can't be disciplined. I mean, I just have all these things that I just can't do. So, do what Lee does. Save your doggone money, and then you'll be like Louis, who is right now, you know, sipping wine on the coast, and that's the truth. But here's what I will say about listings, and this is the truth. I have been on the search for a listing presentation my whole entire life. And I put together one time I got from Stan and Susan Ferguson. They said, well, here, you poor thing, you know, you got to have something in there about yourself. You got to, you know, do these things. And I had that for a while, and it just got old. And so, honestly, you know, just the same as I'm doing right this second, like seat of my pants, unlike, again, Lee, you noticed he had that thing all outlined, ready to go. Not me, by golly, you know, I guess I think I have the charm of the world, and I'm just gonna rope them in that way, you know, don't do that. But regardless, here's the thing you gotta start with. You have got to prep yourself. A, you have to know you have the appointment. I, honest to God, sometimes forget to look and don't even, and then I'm like, oh oh gosh, okay, hurry up everybody, let's put this together and hope that I can get over there and know that, particular market. That's the truth. That's the truth. Do not do that, okay? Know that you have the appointment. Look the day before. No matter how many times I tell myself, it just doesn't happen. But get ready, because you're going to get the listing if you have done your homework and you've done all these things that Dave was saying with the comps and all that kind of stuff, and what Lee said about knowing your market. When you know your market, you're going to be able to do the best job for them. You're going to be able to get their house priced right, which is key. And you're going to be able to get the listing because you know what you're talking about. You have confidence. When you do your prep work, you're going to have the confidence to convince them of the right price. And they'll feel it in your presentation. They'll feel it in your heart. They're going to know that. But before that even, I jumped ahead because I don't have the notes, you see. Before that, this is really, I think, very important. You need to think about who it is that you're meeting with and what you're going to wear. Example, the other day I had a meeting in my head, I thought the meeting was Thursday. Whoop, what do you know, it's this afternoon. And I had worn something that was whatever for that day, but wasn't going to be what I had already planned I'm going to wear for the appointment. So I actually went home. And Christy said to me, "You're changing your clothes, how come? Is that too sexy?" I said, "Yes, this is too sexy for today." My client, I knew them from the community, is very, very conservative. And I went home and I changed up and I put on a scarf and made sure there was no cleavage showing, no arm, and I had a jacket and the whole deal. I knew her. And when I got there, she had on a scarf, she had a real dowdy little, thing on and stuff. And, that to me is really important, what you look like. The bubs can't be hanging out there, the men can't be having the hairy chest going on down unless your client is Mr. Sex Pot Looker guy, or you're trying to maybe do a little extra after the listing with your gal that you're trying to list or something like that. Those things are all really valid, but it's like Lee did say, know your market, change, be flexible to your people. It's really important. But generally speaking, if you don't know them, well then, for crying out loud, represent the realtors of the world in a good fashion. Put on a professional looking outfit. Now, look at this. I see some suits here. I see some ties here. And how do you think that these people sold 87 houses in a year? I tell you for sure, it was not from coming into their meeting with sweats on and baggy pants and shorts because they're cool and this and that. That's my personal opinion, and I'm big on it. And I learned that from Gary Belter. Gary Belter is the bomb, and he knows. And he told me, Gary Belter and Leslie Walters. Leslie told me, always wear these little button earrings, which are so out of style, and I still do. I don't have them on today, but I still do because they're just conservative and neutral. You can throw them on forever. Gary said, here's your tools that anybody can do, and they don't, take a lot of headspace. Be professional, be on time. It doesn't cost you anything to be on time. And honestly, I'm not always on time, but when I am, I have had people say thank you for being punctual. They appreciate that. I mean, I try. Of course I try. Things get busy, as you all know. But those two things are free and easy, so we can all do that, and that's part of the prep work. And then mentally, I will tell you some reasons why I have lost listings. One of them is, you're not techie enough. I've got this younger guy who is going to put a QR code on my sign. And he had all this techie information. Well, guess what? After that one, the one thing I can say, of course, anytime you don't get the listing, well, why did I not get that listing? Let's think on that. What could I have done different? I do that. And I will tell you that I figured out that graph trends thing by myself. I was thinking, okay, what in the heck are they doing? Because there's only so many things people can do. And I figured out, okay, this is really impressive. And yes, I use that also. And that is easy to put together, and it's easy and fast. So I try to do that. I don't always use it. It depends on when I get there. So those are the things about being prepared. Then when you get there on time, you're so much more in the mode for winning. Because when you get there and you're late, you're like, you're not even breathing right. And that's the truth. You know, you're not breathing right and you're not going in there. When you're there on time or a tad early, but don't go in the door because maybe they're not ready. Nobody wants an early bird either. Forget that. They're not ready. Go on time. Okay, so then you're ready. And when you go in, then I do, ask if I can look around, and I'll have them go with me and show me their things. And I know that's not a Mike Ferry thing. They say go look by yourself. But, then I can take some notes on my phone, and maybe it brings to my mind some of the things that sound like they're important to them that I might want to talk about later or put on the flyer. So I try to listen to what they have to say. Now you're going to hear a lot of, well, we were going to do this, but we didn't do that, and things that you don't want to hear, but that to me is just part of it. My thing is, not efficiency. That's not my thing. So I will go ahead and take lots of extra time for stuff that, unfortunately, that's how I operate. I'm not afraid of work. I work all the time. So if it takes longer, it just takes longer. So I'm going to have them show me around the house. And then another thing that has lost me listings is not sitting down at a table with them. Every time. Every single time that I've allowed them to bamboozle me into, she's sitting at the bar, he's sitting over here, where do you go? And I'm like, well, whatever, and just kind of standing there. Never, 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 never. You might as well walk on out the door right there and then. You are not going to get a listing if you're standing there. And one time, just recently, I went to one and there was so much stuff in the house. There was literally one chair to sit in, and then she sat on a box like this. But we at least, sat face to face, and I got that listing. Because I was going, oh, wow, no table, what are we going to do? And I said, gee, should we go to my office? She goes, no, here. You sit there, I'm sitting here, we were face to face. That is critical. Another reason that I have lost a listing is over talking. And Lee covered this. I've walked out the door and gone, damn, you just talked their heads off and you didn't say one thing. You're not getting that listing. You go overboard and then you're talking about crapola, and it's just like not going to happen. You need to make sure. I will be now more efficient in that arena and try to be sure that we're talking about what the thing is. Sure, you can have a rapport, but over-rapporting them is going to lose you the listing every time. Every time. Don't do that. Get to the business. Chat with them a little bit, but they're there to get their house on the market, and they only care about them. Remember, everybody only cares about them. So don't start in on your stuff, what you did, what you're going to do. I don't mean like what you're going to do with this, but anything about you. Just forget about it. Talk about them. The other thing that I've done that has lost me listings is, I've been told this. I've been told that I lost the listing because I wasn't prepared. One of those times I forgot the appointment probably and didn't have all my little graphs and have all the little stuff done, and also that I didn't care about them. And sometimes when I get too busy or too tired, when I'm not keeping my emotions between the line and trying to take care of myself, then I won't care, and it shows. Again, you might as well not go out. Got to remember, on the times when I'm really tired or whatever, I'll think to myself, I'll try to get in that car before I go and think, prayer. Lord, help me to remember that this is about them, and help me to really care about what they're doing. Because the truth is, I do care. And I think that's the reason why I do get the listings, in spite of the fact that I'm not all the organized one and all these things, because I really do care. It's just sometimes that I buzz through things too fast and don't ask them enough questions about themselves, and what they're trying to accomplish. So that number one thing is caring. Well, so what else then do I do is I'm going to go over, when I get ready for a listing now, what I do is I'll do the 1/4 mile radius and see what it says, just like he said. If there's not enough, I go to the half. When I go to the half, I also do the 200 above and 200 below thing to see, okay, a little bit broader, and in this size range, what are they doing? And then looking at those two things gives kind of a, I print a CMA out on those things, and I'll print that stuff out and I save it to my computer under a file I've created for them, because sometimes, lots of times, more and more, people don't list on the spot they're going to think or do, or it's 6 months later or whatever. So I will save that as a PDF into that file, so that, and I might even make notes like half mile CMA, same size, average price, average size, 1,500 feet, average price per foot, 122. And I might even put that down so I can glance at the title of the PDF later, just for a quickie. If it is 6 months later, I'm just going to remind myself on a hurry that way. Then I will do a full listing printout of all the details and all the photos of the half mile CMA with the same size houses, and then I'm going to print that out. Then I'm going to actually look at it. I'll print that out for myself, or I'll either one of two things. I'll print it out for myself and make notes when I look at the full listing details, where you can pop up the bigger pictures to see what kind of condition the house is in. Does this make sense, what I'm saying? Okay. And I'll make notes either on the PDF itself or on the printout, and I'll say, well, this one had a pool, that one didn't have a pool, this one had this and that, so that in my mind I'm kind of going, base price per square foot is this, and this house is this big, but it also has RV, it doesn't have this, doesn't have that. So I make myself little mental notes, so I kind of get a gut feeling of how much I think that might add or subtract to the price, so that I can get a feel of what I think the price is. Then I print that out in color with all the pictures for the people. I hardly ever get to the stage that I actually use it, so I feel kind of wasteful sometimes, but once in a while you got somebody that wants to see that stuff. And then I go to the trends and I get all that stuff so that I have that in my head. They always want to know how many days on the market. And then you can show them average price per square foot and how their house compares and relates to that, right? So that's what I do. Then, depending, I always have on hand, here's a little, which this is completely embarrassing, but the seller's marketing plan we have is like 1 million years old, and now I won't even leave it because it needs to be updated so badly. But it's there to at least remind me what to say if these people are going to want to know, well, hey, what are you going to do for me? And then in with that, I have some kind of testimonials and copies of awards, you know, from the office and stuff like that. And I don't go over that with them. I always tell them, you know, here's the stuff. I mean, if you want to look at these things, I might tell them, and here's another reason why I've lost listings, okay? So if I fail to tell them what our company can do for them, if I fail to point that out, I just wing through and go on with the, you know, the basics, but I don't actually tell them, hey, these are the reasons why you should choose our company, and then take another minute to say, these are the reasons why you should choose me. Because if they're interviewing, they're going to want to know why, not why to choose you. They're going to want to know what you do different. And that's hard, because we all work our buns off. We all have the same tools at our access. And so that's where, you know, you need to kind of think about, well, what is it that you do? Because every one of us has something that we do better than the other people, or that makes us special than the other people. And so whatever that is, you have to let them know. So we got to sell our companies, and we've got to sell ourselves first, then the company. I always used to say, there is no Mr. Watson anymore that's doing this job. It's me that's doing all this work, and this is what I'm going to do. And then I'll tell them, of course, about the things just quickly that we're going to do. But first, before I even get into that, I always ask them what it is that they're trying to accomplish and how I can help them with that. Because then you can hear, I do that first, sorry, because then you can hear what's important to them, whatever else you didn't learn along the way when you were walking through the property with them. because then you can know which things to pull out of your little bag of stuff that you brought that's going to be important to them. And the stuff that they didn't bring up, I'm not going to necessarily, bore them with that kind of thing. And so that's then, depending on the house, something that's really, really, really important also, and I think shows that you care, is talking about what needs to be done at the house. Some houses don't need too much, but a lot of them need tons of stuff. And so it's really hard to be honest about, sometimes people have way too much clutter or whatever. Think of a story that you can tell that lets them relate that we all have clutter, or you have clutter, or something else. If it's absolutely too much, tell them that you're going to, as part of your service, you're going to hire somebody professional that is going to come in and help them figure out what are the things that need to be done so that they can get the highest emotional and monetary value. They can create the highest emotional value to give them the most money for their house. And then there's stagers around. Fran Gunner does it. Rosina has her phone number. We can all get it. And, I don't know what she charges for $150 or less. I'm sure they'll go out there and they'll be the bad guy and make sure that somebody does that. I had a house in the Oaks here a while back, and I walked in the door and thought, Mamma mia. And not only that, but the foundation or the concrete was raising from the palm trees out in the backyard around the pool, and things in the wood roof, everything. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they had a new kitchen, but you could hardly tell, and they had rearranged the house. It was weird. Anyhow, so they're like, well, they had a big Indian princess, big teepee thing all set up in the formal dining room and everything. We don't have to move that, right? And I'm like, well, yeah. Thing. I thought to myself, so that was one of those times where I said, you know what we're going to do? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a professional come out here. We're going to make sure we do this right because we want to get you the most money. And I had them come out, and I had no hopes, that house was such a mess, that they were going to do anything. But I will tell you right now, when I went and saw that house, my eyeballs went like the cartoon, that. And we got those guys $20,000 more than I had said. We had multiple offers, and nobody even worried about that raised up concrete. So that's the importance of that, I think, and it's our job, I also think, and I think that people will appreciate it. You have to be tactful and always say, if you want. Some people only want to have their house the way it is. In your head, you go, okay, slobberoos, and then you just, if they won't listen to you, you just price it lower. Simple as that, because as Lee said, it's all about the price. And that's the next thing is, I used to always go out and try to be like the big fat hero lady, oh yeah, I'm going to get you, this is the comps, but I can probably get you that because I can. And you know what? I used to be able to do that actually for some weird reason a long time ago, but you can't do that now. Nope. That thing needs to be priced right if you're going to sell it. And think of it, guys. If there's anything that's my secret, it's this. I hate, with a passion, to ask for price reductions. I hate that. It's just nasty business. Price the doggone thing right if you can, and get it sold within 30 days. Because that's when they're going to go around and say, hey, you're great, And that's our job. Let's face it, having your house on the market is a PIA, big time. You feel yucky having your house invaded every day. People don't show up. They said they're going to show up. They left the door open. They left the lights open. They turned the lights off. All the things that you hear about, it's irritating for them. Let's get them out of that as fast as possible. Not only that, then all the money you got to spend on marketing just builds up and your dollar goes down. So it's not doing anybody any good to have them on the market a long time. However, if you have to take those overpriced listings, then the trick is you have got to form a tight buddy relationship with those people and be in touch with them as much as possible, and always drop the hint that, gee, maybe the price, I did this, I did that trend, I did, some factual thing, till finally one day, I finally got one this morning, and I've been dropping these hints and saying, I think it's the price, and da-da-da, and he said today, and he dropped that thing $30,000, you guys, by himself, more than I would have asked for. So, you know, if it is overpriced, just keep chipping away on that. Just keep mentioning till they get motivated enough. If they're not motivated in the first place, do not even take the listing. Let Joe Blow have that dang thing. That's all. I had said to him, you know, gosh, I'm looking at this, whatever it was that I told him. I looked on the market, and it's these things, and I saw this other one come over for 305. You know what? It's really similar to yours. I kind of think the reason it hasn't sold is the price. I really do. How about a price reduction? Well, nothing. You know, I don't think so. It's not the price. It's not anything. I mean, it's like all that. And I was going, okay. So I just kind of let it hang there. And then he just called and said, you know what? I'm motivated now. I'm ready to go. I want to drop the price. And I'll even take less. So, yeah. No, that was this morning. He dropped it. Woohoo! It's dropping as we speak. Yeah, Ron. I just look at the comps, and I mean, I try to comp it then. If it's 2.5 acres, I try to comp it to 2.5 acres. And I kind of just do guesstimating, you know, sort of ballpark gut feeling thing. Sometimes I got to really, it takes me a long time to kind of get a feeling sometimes. Sometimes I got to spread it out on the floor, and, you know, it's like looking at your high school graduation pictures. Remember, you got 30 of them, and you look and go, well, here's all the ones I'm looking left, here's the one I'm looking right, here's the one straight up. Let's pick all the best out of that, the best out of that. Now let's go like this. I got to kind of spread it out. I got to think. Sometimes got to think about it overnight or 2 days sometimes, you know, if it's not just some neighborhood where they're all the same, you know, and things like that. If it's a neighborhood where they're all the same, you're going to know. You know the floor plans. You know the whole thing. So I don't have any set 30,000 for this, 50 for that. You know, I'm kind of guesstimating all the time. Yeah, Lee. No, I don't, because I don't want to goof. You know, I'm so into, I have to be perfect all the time. And what if I said, oh, here, $250,000, here's your net. I figured out already how much, I do figure out how much. I go on the Ticor online, and I then use the program, agent, whatever it is, so that there's that, they've got the program. You know, on your phone, you can have it, on your iPad, everywhere, on your computer. Whereas a lender, you go to the lender thing, and you say, hey, they bought the house, X date, here's how much it said that they owed, and it'll figure out how much they owe right now. So you have that in your head. But then I use that on the spot, and I go, here we go. Because what if you go, oh, 250,000, you're taking a low guess to be conservative, and they're wanting 275 or something. It leaves me more flexibility to do it on the spot, and it's a piece of cake. It's easy. You go like that, and you just email it straight to them, make a copy to yourself, so then you have it in your records.
But I was asked to speak about, you know, building a business with a foundation on relationships, and you know, I can speak a little bit to that because that's kind of how I feel like I built my business. It's taken a while, you know, so I'm not as disciplined as, definitely not as disciplined as Lee, and I'm not as cute as Terry, so I even had to work way harder than they did. And I went through my database last night doing my homework, trying to prepare for this, and every single name that I have on there, you know, every transaction I did last year is not new business. It's all been referral business from past relationships. It's a little bit sad that I'm not working at getting new business like Lee does every day, which I'd be doing a lot better than I am, but I'm happy with the results I'm getting, because it also leaves me to have a life. And even though I don't look, I mean, I'm younger than I look, I'm still old. So, but anyway, and another thing that I found out last night at looking at this is that I owe most of the income I have to my cousin Ruben, which was my first deal. He was my first deal, lasted 4 months, 4-month escrow, 6 months showing. You know, it was a good one. $43,000 sale. You know, I think I owed $200 to the broker to when I finished. You know, but the good thing about it is he told his sister, you know what? He doesn't totally suck. He's okay. And so his sister referred this guy who wanted free advice because he was buying a for sale by owner. And so I got a chance to talk to this guy, and I offered to do the deal for $1,000. You know, after 7% off the top, 50% split, minus $200 transaction fee, and E&O. You know, I was going to make like $200. Is anybody of you really willing to go for that right now? But I screwed up the deal. You know why? Because I didn't do a net sheet and told him about escrow fees. I didn't know any better. It was, you know, I was starting out. So I get in the middle of this deal. This guy at the end of the transaction, they give him his money that he needs to bring in, and he comes into my office wanting to kick my butt because it's $2,500 that he has to pay in closing costs versus $1,000 that I told him. He thought the $1,000 he was giving me should include paying escrow fees and everything else. So it was a mistake that I made. And what I learned about this is that relationships are built not because you did a great job and there was no problems with the deal, is how you respond to them. And I remember that, I mean, I apologized. I said, I screwed up. I'm sorry. I should have explained all these fees to you. And I'm sorry, but you know what? You know, your $1,000, I tore up the contract. For him to pay me the $1,000. And I go, look, don't pay me anything. Just pay your closing costs. And, you know, I'm good with it. And again, instead of saying what I was thinking, I guess, you cheap, you know, as Kevin says, you have to be professional. You get a chance to either respond how you want to respond and let your feelings take over, because he deserved it, really. He was being cheap, but he didn't realize that. And so I responded professionally, and I gave him back his money, and I apologized profusely, and I went along my way. Well, his sister was with him. And luckily, she saw how much of a cheap SO, whatever, beep he was. And so his sister became one of my biggest fans. I counted last night the transactions that stem from his sister, this guy that was the guy that never paid me, a referral from my cousin buying a house from telling his sister I really didn't really suck that bad. I counted, I think, about 40 transactions from that lady. So the moral of the story is that, first of all, you can't start looking at deals in the size and the, you know, we are a full service real estate agent. And when somebody comes in for free advice for whatever it is, we have to do our job based on, as Terry was saying, what do these people need? And we have to do it not putting numbers to them, we just have to do it. And if we do that, time will reward us. Time will reward us. And I went down the list into some of the other relationships that I've had, and so, you know, different families that I've met, restaurant owner that I met actually with, how I met Kevin is I was in a group called Le Tip, and we had it was a networking group that that I participated in and was a member of for maybe a year and a half. And we referred clients to each other. And that's how, in a networking luncheon or party that we did for 1 year, that's when I met Kevin. And that was a long time ago. But I also met a restaurant owner there. And so I started going to eat at that restaurant, and we became kind of friends, and so he asked me to start looking for houses for him in Seven Oaks. I thought, man, this is my shot to get into the Seven Oaks market. And I started sending him lists and properties and different things, and he would go over and, no, this is not good. And one day I show up and found out that he bought from somebody else. And again, I'm like, how can you do this to me? This was my shot at going into Seven Oaks. And again, not reacting like I wanted to react and go, how could you do this to me? I've been working on this for 2 months or this or that. What he didn't tell me is that he had been working with somebody before. He just liked me and kind of thought, well, maybe if this guy brings me the exact same house that I want, maybe I'll buy it from him. I never provided that perfect house, and somebody else did. But I acted very professional. I go, oh, don't worry about it. It happens all the time. I still love you, whatever. You dog, But I said, but look, make it up to me and refer me somebody else. I don't, it happens. Don't worry about it. Sold a house. The first deal he referred to me was his brother, and he moved across the street from him. So I still sold something in Seven Oaks. And again, not only has he become one of my best friends now, but I counted about 80 transactions from that relationship. And millions of dollars in sales. So it's not just a fluke that we're talking about this. It's my life story. It's persistence. I had some real skinny years because I wasn't disciplined, and I did a lot of cold calling and all of that, and that is some of the business came from just knocking on doors and expireds and for sale by owners. That's important. You got to make a living. You can't wait as long as some of these relationships take to flourish. You got to start doing it from just people you don't know. But cherish everybody. You don't know where it's going to come from. And it's not just clients. Relationships are important in knowing people. Jacob, if I take him a deal, I'm sure that he'll give me a fair shot. I'm sure that he knows I'm going to close the deal. He knows that I'm honest and ethical, and that I'm not going to screw anybody or lie to him to make the deal. Same thing with Kevin, same thing with Terry, it's do the right thing, whether if you feel like it or not. Whether emotionally you want to do something else, life will throw a lot of those tests on us. And how we respond in those situations is what's going to keep us in business and be proud of who we are and how we do business, and have raving fans as clients. Co-workers. I mean, my previous life in grocery store business, a referral from a friend of mine over there referred me somebody who is in a church, and that person has referred you know, she personally has bought 5 transactions. The first one was a little condo for $40,000. Since then, has done 5 transactions personally and has referred about 20 or 30 other people, you know. So, and it's never the people that you suspect. It's never the person that you go, you know, this guy is wired. I'm going to go and really kiss his butt because I know this guy knows everybody and this and that. It's always that deal that looks like you don't want to do. You know, I bought a used car for my sister one time, and you know who likes used car salesmen? Okay, became one of my best clients and became very successful. Probably did $10 million worth of real estate, and again, the first deal I did with those guys was a house on Q and 33rd Street for $33,000 that they remodeled themselves. That the electrical wiring was all messed up and caught on fire, and you know, so it's never a good story, but God always gives us a reward for us working hard on those hard ones. It always you know, I feel like we get that tenfold. And so the story of my life is just working, giving my best at everything. I don't look at the price tag. I look at just, am I doing the right thing, doing my best on this deal? And the checks just come, you know. They'll come, and I've survived, and I'm doing fine because of just persistence. Persistence in trying to question everything, not with how much profit am I going to get, but as Terry was saying, what do these people need? What do they need right now from them? What's the best advice I can give them that's going to make their life better? And let me see here. One of the relationships that also you need to be the most worried about is your wife and your kids and your family. Because we tend to become realtors, and it's a special DNA that you know, cannot say no to somebody calling us and wanting to see a house at 6 o'clock, you know, even when you have your kid's soccer game or something else to go to. You know, I'm not here to as a marriage counselor or anything, but I did learn that early on, that you know, your marriage can get rocky if you give this business your all, and you put your family second. And it's easy to do. Trust me, it's easy to get caught up where we have a $10,000 commission over here or a soccer game to go to, and you think that way, but really that $10,000 commission never happens. I always buy from somebody else. You know. So that's another thing, you know, that you know, if you don't treat this as a business and just give it your 60 hours or whatever any other normal job would not require you to be 24/7. And this doesn't either. If you're dealing with people that don't understand that you need a day off and not to call you on that day, stop working with those people. There's somebody else that's going to step in and take their place. Don't worry about the guys that didn't buy. Just, you'll be happier taking care of the people that do buy, and you're going to have a better attitude, and you're going to do a better job, and again, God will reward you for doing the right thing. So that's the most important relationships that you can take care of, because nobody likes a divorced, drunk, you know, in a bad mood realtor anyway.
So, you mastered relationship and priority. and we've heard technology tips and other tips as far as what method do you use to cultivate success? Is it phone guy, or you text, or you email, or you
I've done. My agenda used to include 5 past clients per day, phone calls, personal phone calls. It still is my goal. I don't hit my 3 or 4 days a week. I hit 1 or 2 now, as I get tied up. I used to do a client appreciation party at the end of the year and after Christmas. I didn't want to do it during when everybody's doing them, but I wanted to. I would do it after, like February or something like that, or the summertime. I had a picnic, but a lot of, and I would do something that would draw them in. I would raffle $1,000, and bring some music or bring a show. I did a magic show on one. I did a Christmas in Hawaii theme one time, and so I did those things that brought in. Then bring in all my past clients. I invited them all, which is a way to touch bases with them. But it brought in the raving fans. It brought in these guys that keep on referring business, and so those are things that I use. Christmas cards, I still send out Christmas cards, but nothing works better than the phone calls. I found out. No, I use Top Producer, and I go, I just go in alphabetical order, and I kind of know where I left off. I try to hit, go around the whole database, a couple of times a year.
And I am going to talk to you about staying in touch with your clients once you've done a sale or helped them buy a home. Down the road, you want them to come back. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Most of you don't have a problem getting clients. We want you to keep your clients and be able to have referral business so you don't have to work so hard down the road. I know a lot of you may have been in the business for a long time. And how many of you have had a client or family member that forgot you were in the business and went and used somebody else? Yes, that's what we want to get away from. One of my poor co-workers in my office said, "You wouldn't believe it. My mom went and used another agent." And I'm going, "Really? How could she forget you were in the business?" She goes, "Oh, I don't think she did." But she never told me the reason her mom didn't use her, but I was like, that's pretty bad. So those are the things that I want you to try to get past where they don't forget you're in real estate. So I'm going to give you some tips to help you so you're always on the tip of their tongue or in the front part of their mind. They'll go, "Oh yeah, I know a great realtor. I just used her, or I used her a couple years ago," and they still remember you, and they're going to refer you to somebody else. So some of the tips. If you're not using email, email is a good way to keep in touch. There's a lot of good systems out there. I was using Market Leader, and I found it very helpful in keeping in touch with them on a regular basis. They have a great drip campaign system, and you can pick basically what you want to send to them. It could be, information for, winter, how to winterize your house, although we don't have to worry about that really much here, but there's always a topic that you could find that will work for your clients here. So I suggest Market Leader. Another one that we just had was, I think it's RP, let me see. RD Training Systems. They had a good program. They're all the way training through, how to get clients, how to keep clients, and just basically how to build your business very well. So that's another company. Buffini's wonderful. You can use Buffini. Here's some of the stuff that he gives you. If you get into his system and do the training with Buffini, you will get like 50 of these every month, and there's always a different topic. He gives you cards. You'll get cards that you can send out. My favorite thing, I think, is the phone. I'm Italian. I love to talk. And I can tell how people's moods are by talking to them. I do text, so I do keep in touch with my younger clients through texting because that seems to be their mode of communication that they like the best. But I try to get a hold of my clients every once in a while. And one tip, if you're ever thinking about someone, let them know. You never know what's going on in their life. But if something came up or you see a car that reminds you of them, a house that you sold them and you happen to be going past it, you're like, oh, I sold that house. Call them up. Say, you know what? I was just thinking about you and I wanted to see how things were going. And by the way, is there anything I can help you with in real estate? I'd be happy to help you again. So it's not that you have to talk to them all the time, but you do want to continually remind them that you are there, because the minute they forget, they're going to go use somebody else. There's a lot of other software programs out there that you can find that will help you keep in touch with them as well. Pop buys. Do you guys know what pop buys are? Pop buys are when you take your client something. My daughter and her girlfriend made these for their wedding gift. That was the gift we all got when we left their wedding. She made candles. It might be a little more than you want to spend, but this might be something great at Christmas time, or put jam or jelly in here and take it to a client if you're that kind of person. I'm not, I'd have to have my sister do it. But anyway, something like that. Another gift that I love, and my sister-in-law gives it to me every year, is a calendar. You could go buy a $1 frame, Dollar Tree, and she makes these. She just gets on the computer, gets some cardstock, and she creates all these calendars for the year. This would be a great gift, which would not cost you very much. And they can keep it on their desk, they can keep it at their home, whatever. But it's just a great little gift that would be so simple that they would remember you. So anytime you can use something, and I have a lot of clients with kids, and my background is with kids, so I tend to do stuff for their kids. And I don't know if that makes a big difference, but if you can always, I would drop by like Valentine's bags or Halloween bags for the kids. I'm getting ready to send one of my clients that moved to New York who has triplets, some stuff. So it just, I mean, whatever you can think of, or things, if you know your client well enough, pick things that you know are of interest to them and use that, you know, to keep in touch with them. If you're going to do a pop buy, say, you know, they love movies, you know, maybe take them, you know, some popcorn, you know, for movie night, and just say, hey, I brought this by for movie night for you. So there's just lots of things that you can do. Handwritten notes. That's another way. I use a lot of handwritten notes. Great way. Just go to dollar store and get, you know, a boatload of cards, or get the packs of cards and just write them a note and say, hey, I just was thinking about you. I thought I would just send you this little note to let you know that. And it makes a big difference. They feel special. They realize that you still remember them. I'll get calls from clients who say, do you still remember me? And I'm like, yes, of course I remember you. So you just have to think of ways to make them feel special. And the best way, I think, like when you first are starting and you've just done a deal, I think if you were kind, they knew they could trust you, that's going to go a long way. I don't know if you have dealt with any agents who are not very nice, but most of you want to run away. You don't want to ever deal with them again. I got my list. I just refuse. I feel like I'm a nice person. I'm nice to people, and I feel like that's how people should treat me. So I think that's how your clients want to be treated. Sometimes things can get a little heated, but you should be able to educate them and smooth things over if things get a little rough through your transaction. So if they know that you're there for them and they can trust you, they're going to come back and use you. So just think of ways that you would want to be treated, how you would want somebody, you know, you love hearing from a long-lost friend or a college roommate or somebody like that. Now we have Facebook. We've got LinkedIn. We've got Twitter. We've got blogs. We've got, I mean, everything you can think of now are ways to stay in touch. Now, with the social media, that you could almost stay in touch every day with someone. And if someone found you again, they're more likely to use that to stay in touch with you. I am, I guess, old school. I'm still not very techie, so I choose my phone calls. I choose, you know, my little handwritten notes, because I can't even half the time figure out how to get to Facebook. So, but those do work. I know they do, because I watch everybody in my office, or most of the people in my office, use it on a daily basis to keep in touch or to just let people be aware. So if somebody does come on Facebook or, you know, Twitter or whatever, they can see, oh, I know that person. So you just want to always have them remember who you are. And when you do the pop-bys, or you send a card or whatever, you know, put your business card in it, or when you're doing a pop-by, give them something with your picture on it, because it helps so much by seeing your face to remember you. So always use something with your picture so they know it's from you. Let me see what else I had. The best one I can just tell you is be consistent. If you are going to start, try to be consistent. That's probably my biggest problem, is being consistent. But if I feel like I'm losing touch with some of them, I pick up my phone, I get on my email and start, you know, going through my whole database and start sending out emails. I just did this recently, and everyone goes, oh no, we know we would never send anybody but to you, so don't worry about it. So that made me feel good. But you still never know, because it has happened to me. I've had friends that have gone and bought from somebody else. I haven't had a relative do that yet, but anyway, it just helps if they can recognize real estate with you. And that's what you want. So what I want to just tell you is just, another thing I forgot. I don't know if any of you have done video emails. Those are a lot of fun. I use iJot, and there are several others, but that was the one we were introduced to, and it's called iJot, and you can just sit at your desk and just say, hey, you know, and you're just speaking into your own computer, and it's videoing you, and then you email it to somebody. So it's kind of like you're being right there in front of them, just say, you know, being all casual, hey, hi, just, you know, thought about you, I wanted to, you know, talk to you, and you can use that. FaceTime, Skype, if you really want to do that, that's another form. I use that with my long distance clients that are in New York now. We Skype or FaceTime quite a bit because we like staying in touch. But there's just so many different ways. But like I said, my favorite is calling or the notes. But one last thing I just want to say is personalize it all. And just make sure that what you're giving them could be informative. It could be funny. I mean, it could be just something different, so they'll pick you out from somebody else. And that's about it. I think I've covered everything I wanted to. I mean, you can use print mailers too. They're not my favorite because most people just throw those away. But that is another form of keeping in contact with your old clients if you want. But just try to think of ways to personalize it and to make you stand out from everybody else. Yes? Start with a note or even a phone call. Phone calls, I think, are the most personable because they can hear your voice and they can tell if you're being sincere, that you really, oh my gosh, my computer, crashed. I lost all my data. I couldn't find you. I mean, anything. But if they hear your voice and they hear that you're sincere, they're going to realize, oh gosh, he really did. Something happened and he didn't stay in touch. But I think a personal phone call is the most, just because they can tell by someone's voice how they really truly feel.
Yes.
Do you have a certain time of the day that you dedicate, morning, midday, afternoon, to staying in touch part of it, or do you kind of find itself, or how do you?
Mine varies. I like to try to do some things in the morning. What I do is I don't go into my office first thing in the morning. I stay home, and that's usually when I start picking up and getting back to people, because it's nice and quiet at my home. Everybody's at school, work, wherever. So it's just me. So I like using that time to either, start writing some cards or, doing it. If I'm on floor time, I'll do it during floor while I'm not having any calls. I'll be writing, or I'll be, texting or calling, or whatever it is that I think about. If I think about somebody and I know that it's handy just to text them, I'm going to just text them. I have a client right now who's going through chemo treatments and a lot of bad stuff. And I've been trying to stay in touch with them, but he's still trying to work. She's trying to work. So I text him and I say, how's things going? Is there anything I can do for you? I did a fundraiser for them. So any time is a good time. As long as you, and I don't know that you have to set aside a time. A lot of people are like that. I'm not regimented, so I don't say, okay, I'm going to do, 20 postcards right now. I just do them when I have the time. And if I'm idle, then I'm working on getting in touch with past clients.